So then that pill represents a symbol of hope, a symbol of possibility. And when the person begins to associate that pill with the thought of being better, they're selecting a new future subconsciously. They're not even aware that they're doing that. And if they begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion, they're changing their state of being. And when they change their state of being, they're changing the way they think and feel. And in a sense now, they're moving their biology from the past present reality into the future present reality. How is it possible that you can give someone a sugar pill, a saline injection, or perform some false surgery or treatment, and a certain percentage of those people will accept, believe, and surrender to the thought without analyzing it, that they're getting the real substance or treatment, and they begin to program their autonomic nervous system to produce the exact pharmacy of chemicals equal to the substance that they think they're taking? Is it the inert substance that's doing the healing, or is it the body's innate capacity to heal? I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and in the previous episode, we went into depth on the understanding of epigenetics and how you have the ability to change your gene expression. In this episode, we're going to discover the power of suggestibility. This will help you understand that your nervous system can be the greatest pharmacist of all. What is the placebo? The word placebo comes from the word to please. And all throughout antiquity, in ancient folklore, there have been numerous examples for thousands of years where people were reporting significant changes in their health, whether they were associating that change with some place, some symbol, some apparition, or some ritual. But in some way, there was an instantaneous change in the person's health. There was an American physician during one of the wars who was doing surgery on wounded soldiers. And the doctor ran out of morphine, and he had to come up with a way to continue doing the surgeries. Instead of using morphine, he used a simple saline injection. And when he gave the soldiers a saline injection, he noticed that he was able to perform those surgeries with very little response or pain from the subjects that he was doing the surgery on. And this began the study of placebos. Now, in most scientific studies that are being done on drugs to this day, no research experiment is done without a double-blind or triple-blind placebo study. In other words, every single drug has to be measured against the placebo, because in most scientific studies, there are changes in a person's health that range between 10% of the time to 100% of the time when they're given a placebo and the subject doesn't even know if they're getting the real substance or they're getting the placebo. And in fact, in triple-blind studies, the doctors or the researchers don't even know who's getting the placebo and who's getting the real substance. So now, most studies always consider the mind to be an important element in how it affects the person's body. So how are placebos effective? Well, think about it. You have pain, you have a symptom. Someone gives you a pill, and you swallow that pill, and within an hour you start noticing a change in your pain levels. So then the next day, you have pain again, you're given that pill, you look at the pill, you swallow it again, you notice that your pain levels diminish. You start noticing a change in your internal state, and you begin to think about what causes it, and you start to associate the change in your inner state with something outside of you. Keep doing it again, the next day, doing it again the next day, do it again the next day, and then the day after, give someone a pill that looks just like that previous pill, but there's no drug in it. It's just simple starch or sugar. The person takes the pill, and by association, by conditioning, they start to notice the pain going away. So the first element of the efficacy of placebos is based on conditioning. And in this current model of the way we view health, so much of health has to do with taking something outside of you to change your state inside of you. And in fact, we've all been conditioned into believing that's the case. Now, the second element that makes placebos effective is expectation. So the person gets that pill, and the doctor tells them, this is a new drug. This drug is highly effective. Think of that pill as a symbol of possibility. And when they grab that pill and they're about ready to take it, before they take it, they begin in their mind to begin to believe or accept or begin to think about that could possibly change their health. And all of a sudden, they start getting optimistic. They start looking forward to the change. They start believing that there could be a change in their health. And when they're combining that clear intention with the elevated emotion of gratitude or optimism or excitement or inspiration, in a sense, they're changing their state of being. And so if conditioning then is based on the past, expectation is based on the future. The third thing that makes a placebo effective is what we call assigning meaning based on learning information. So if the doctor shows up and says, this drug is going to enhance serotonin in the receptor sites in your brain, and they take out a chart and they show you how serotonin is what begins to create neurotransmission, and then of course when they see the pill, they start to assign meaning behind what it does, and it increases the efficacy of how the placebo works. So those are the three elements that begin to change a person's state of being. If the environment is that strong that it influences a person's feelings and thoughts, their state of being, to return back to the old self, would it be a good idea every single day to do a meditation to change your state of being to be greater than your environment? And if in the depression studies it took 8 weeks for many people to change their state of being by thought alone that ultimately healed their depression, do you think it would be a good idea for you every single day to change your state of being for 8 weeks before you start seeing changes? And it's important to understand this because some people do it once or do it twice, and they expect the change to take place in just 1 or 2 attempts. And why does that not work? Because either the person's getting up after their meditation feeling the same way they did as they started, and if you get up from your meditation feeling the same way, then in a sense, nothing happened neurologically, nothing happened neurochemically, nothing happened hormonally, nothing happened genetically, nothing happened energetically. You're still the same person. The second thing is that some people move into a new state of being, they feel great, and then they open their eyes and they get back into their life and they return back to their old self again. That's like eating a great breakfast, organic meal, and then spending the rest of your day eating junk food. So the importance behind placebo is that it may take a few attempts, it may take some time, every single day changing your state of being to be greater than your environment. It may take you a little time to change your biology. So how can you then move into a new state of being and change your body by thought alone? Well, think about this. How is it that the preacher in the deep south of the United States can move into a state of religious ecstasy and drink strychnine or poison and have no biological effects? Or the snake charmer moving into an altered state of mind gets bit by a poisonous snake and never has any blood coagulation? Or the tribes of the South Pacific move into a state of trance and walk across a bed of hot coals and never burn their feet? In each one of these cases, every individual made a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that energy caused their body to respond to a new mind, that the choice that they made in that moment changed their biology in that second. And in that instant, they were immune to the conditions in their environment. And in a sense, then, it was energy that began to affect their biology and changed their state of being. Now, in order for you to change some health condition or condition in your life, you're going to have to make a decision with such firm intention that the energy from that decision is greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body, and your body literally has to respond to a new mind. That the choice that you make in that moment becomes a memory or an experience that you never forget. And the stronger the emotion that you feel, the more you will pay attention to the decision. And in a sense then, you are moving your body out of the past into the future. How then do we get thought to begin to influence our body? Really simple. You will only accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to your emotional state. And you will not accept, believe, and surrender to any thoughts that are not equal to your emotional state. Here's an example. A person gets a diagnosis. The diagnosis is cancer. The diagnosis is rheumatoid arthritis. The diagnosis is multiple sclerosis. The moment that person gets the diagnosis, the moment they get the news and how the doctor delivers it, you can agree with me, they have some type of internal change. They're feeling an emotion like fear. They're feeling an emotion like pain. They're feeling an emotion like suffering. And they feel that change in their internal state. They remember that moment that doctor told them, the brain takes the snapshot, and that becomes a long-term memory. And now the person can say all they want, I'm going to beat this condition. But if they're still living by that emotion, and they're saying, I'm getting stronger every day, I'm getting stronger every day, and the body's feeling fear, the body's feeling sadness or pain, the body's feeling discouraged, that thought will never make it to the body, never pass the brainstem. And they can say that affirmation over and over again. So then it makes sense then that if you begin to change your emotional state, and instead of surrendering to fear, start surrendering to love or gratitude. And think about the emotional signature of gratitude. Something is happening to you, or you are receiving something. So the signature emotionally is the perfect state of receiving. So if a person is feeling fear, they cannot accept, believe, and surrender to any thought that's not consistent with the feeling of fear. It never makes it to their body. Change their state from fear to gratitude and have that person open their heart and, in spite of the news, begin to change their internal state. If they're in a state of gratitude and they're in a state of receiving, they will accept, believe, and surrender to the thoughts equal to that emotional state, and they'll begin to program their autonomic nervous system into a whole new destiny. Now that I've shown you the placebo effect and how it works, how will you use this knowledge to change your body? Is it possible that your mind can begin to produce similar effects in your life as well as your body? In order for us to answer that question, we're going to have to learn about how the mind and how matter are intimately related. In the next episode, we're going to explore the wacky world of quantum physics. Once you understand that every thought produces a frequency, and that energy begins to condition and objectify space, is it possible that you can create the life of your dreams? I'm your host, Dr. Joe Dispenza for Rewired, and I hope to see you in the next episode where we go beyond the ordinary into the extraordinary.